Alright, welcome. Welcome to another painting tutorial, and this one we're going to look at the Tau Firewarrior. So this is going to be a speed tutorial where I show you almost every paint stroke. So starting off with Rhinox hide, and just applying that to the sort of undergarment, or whatever it is, the clothing underneath the armor plates there. So just doing a quick base coat, trying to cover everything up pretty quickly. Okay, next we're going to look at XV88, and that will be over all of the base armor as well. And so that's all the armor and gun and backpack. So trying to get this on nice and smooth and getting good coverage. So I do go back and touch it up a little bit, but in general, just trying to cover up all the areas and trying not to paint on anything that I painted with the Rhinox hide. So this is going to take a little bit of time. I'll just explain maybe some of the rest of the tutorial. So I'm showing this at 4 times speed and showing you all the steps along the way. Basically using GW typical techniques where you use 3 colors. The first one goes on, then a shade, and then 2 highlights. A couple colors I skip some steps along the way, but otherwise that's the general technique, is you paint a base coat, shade it with one of the washes, and then highlight up from there. So this is taking forever, but it is probably the main color of the model. It's going to stand out the most, so that's okay, I guess. Getting closer now, and you can kind of tell with this, but I'm putting it on thin layer and then touching it up again. So some of the stuff takes 2 coats. Oh, and the backpack. Alright. So the next I'm going to do the flesh color, which only really shows off on the feet on this particular model. So that using the fang, sort of kind of a blue-gray, and yeah, just those feet by the hooves there, and just trying to get that done. Next up is going to be a black color, so for the gun bits there, and I think that's actually it, just on the gun. Oh, and his the actual hooves or his toes or whatever they are, right below where I painted the fang color. Alright, now I'm getting ready to do the wash on the armor, and that's going to be Seraphim Sepia. So I'm just applying that liberally all over all those flat armor bits, and that'll pool in the cracks on its own, and then I'll paint over all the flat areas later. So just a pretty quick wash there. The pooling on that big shoulder pad, I do touch that up a bit. I don't want quite that much there, especially since this is going to be a much lighter color, and the flat areas don't look that great with that. Okay, so rust gray is going on those feet, and as you can see, I used some of the textured paint on the base there. I just picked one of the ones I haven't used very much. I'm not going to be starting a Tau army, so not too worried about trying to keep a theme going. Alright, Gorther Brown is going to be highlighting up on the Rhinox hide there. I switched over to a smaller brush that I'm doing highlights. Now this one here, you notice I didn't do a wash. The wash of AGRAX EARTHSHADE is going to come at the end of these 2 highlights, and that'll just help blend things and make sure that the deep parts are shaded and the other parts blend a little bit better. So trying to get as much of this on here as I can. The next highlight will be over a smaller surface area, so this is covering just about everything except for the deepest shades. And it's a little bit awkward to get in some of those areas, trying to get it on camera here, so I apologize. But yeah, that's about it. And now I'm going to do the next highlight on there, which is with BANEBLADE Brown. And there I'm just trying to get the highest points on the creases of everything, and just avoid any of the cracks and all that. Try to get it on the inside of the other highlights, just so you can kind of see the 2 shades or 2 highlights together. And now that I'm all done that, I'm going to be doing the AGRAX Earthshade wash. And so I'm just painting that using the same brush fairly liberally over everything that I just highlighted. And so the highlights will still show through, but the shades will help darken those up and also blend a little bit. Some of the tinting will still cover up some of my highlights, but not too much. Alright, now I'm going to be highlighting up some of the black bits. So I'm using Eshin Gray here, and just trying to get some of the flat surfaces, not all of them, and mostly just sort of edge highlights on the gun there, and just to give a bit more of a textured kind of look. But also try to keep all the clean lines. As well, I'm going to highlight the hooves there, trying to get just a little bit of texture on them and make them look a little bit more worn and realistic. Alright, now I'm going to do the final highlight with Dawnstone for the gray bits. And so again with the hooves, really quick, just inside the lines that I painted there. And then I'm going to do some edge highlighting on the gun as well. Okay, now this is going to take a long time. So this is going to be the main color for the armor, and that is Tau Light Ochre. And so the idea here is I want to paint it on all the flat surfaces as smoothly as possible, because these guys have a very clean look, at least the ones I'm doing. And this paint, for some reason, was kind of going on a little bit goopy, so I had to go on thinner than even usual, just to make sure that I didn't get any sort of texture coming through with the paint. So I wanted to make sure it went on nice and smooth. And I'm actually going to skip ahead here and not show you every single bit, just because it takes quite a while. This is probably the longest step of this whole particular model. Now, other ways to do it would be to paint this as sort of your base coat and then paint in your line shades and then touch it up. That would be a little bit faster. So there I skipped ahead a bit and done all the backpack and his arms, just kind of show you some of the gun here, how that looks. And of course I go off camera, so sorry about that, but you'll see what that looks like in a moment here. I'll just do a quick roundabout look at him. So there he is all ready. That Tau Light Ochre is all done. Okay, now I'm going to be highlighting up with ZAMESI Dust, or whatever it's called. And this is a bit more of a yellowish tone than the other ones. The other ones are a bit more orangey. So I'm just trying to get this on the upper edges of things and anywhere that might reflect the light, just to give a bit more of a depth kind of a look to it. And you can see it kind of blends in, but it also stands out just a touch as a bit of a different tone. Not sure if I really like this color for choices for the highlight, but it seems to work. You could use one of the other ones in that Tau range, which would be probably Baylor Brown. That might be a different highlight you could use instead of this. Or you could just mix something with the Tau Light Ochre, maybe a little bit of white or Screaming Skull or something like that. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going around the model, trying to get some of the edges, corners here and there, just to give a bit of an impression of depth to the color. Okay, now I'm finishing up with this. Next will be some edge highlighting using Screaming Skull, and the idea here is just picking up the slightest edges just to give a bit of a hint. This shouldn't be very noticeable, but it will just give a bit more of an impression of sharp edges and them catching the light and that sort of thing. So you can see I'm painting it pretty quick, not worried about getting every single solitary edge. Just want to make sure that I get the majority of the visible ones, just to give the eye the impression that there's something there. And using the same paintbrush here, very fine brush. This is my 180 liner brush, so it's got a nice long tip. And I've had this brush for years now, and it's just worked out so well. I just like to keep using it. I picked that up at Michael's Craft Store. It's a Lowell Cornell liner brush, and nothing special about it. particularly just seems to really work well for me. Every once in a while I get a brush that I really like and it seems to last forever, and then when it eventually does wear out, I have a hard time replacing it. Okay, so just wrapping up some of those highlights on the helmet there, and we're going to switch over to the lenses with MEPHISTON Red. And so that's just the eye lens there, as well as some of the lenses on the gun. So we're just going to give those sort of a glowing look, not putting too much effort into them, just sort of an impression of what it is. And then we are Jokero Orange, highlighting that pretty quickly. And then Flash Gets Yellow, just highlighting those again, just a touch. Alright, now I've got Ceramite White, and that is going to be for some of these special sort of details here. Not really sure what these are all about, but in the pictures that I was kind of going by, the model had these, so just kind of white details on the helmet there. A little bit of lines on the gun, just to give it a bit more squad markings. I don't even know what these are for. I don't really know what Tau do, so there you go. Well, I know they shoot, and they're not really good at close combat. I know my orcs typically just destroy them in combat, but I'll have to play them in the new codex and see how that goes. So I'm just doing those on there, trying to get nice fine lines so I don't have to touch them up, and that's that. Okay, so I noticed that on the shoulder pad there, I hadn't done that right, so tried to do this black. Now I'm going to have to go back, touch up the white. Okay, here we go again. Just painting the black on the top part there, and I'm going to highlight that, but I'm not going to show it. It's the same highlighting as the gun. Alright, so I'm basically done here. I'm just going to dry brush the base, and I'll be painting the rim Steel Legion brown, which I am not showing as well. And one other step that I realized I forgot to do on this model was paint the sort of symbol on the gun there, but it's not really that noticeable, so I guess it's okay. I was going to paint it gold, but for now it's blank. And there you are. There's how to paint a Tau Warrior. It'd obviously be much faster if I did a whole squad. You could do this sort of assembly line style, but overall, if I was to do a squad, I would probably do the armor differently. I would paint it the middle tone and then just try to shade the cracks on it rather than paint it all over again. Anyways, hope you liked this tutorial. I've got a Kroot Warrior I've got to do at some point soon, and hopefully I'll get that up.